Hello everybody, welcome back to World of Cryptids, and today I'll be reading you a story called The Woods Doesn't Want Us Here. My wife and I booked a secluded Airbnb for a much-needed weekend escape. The listing promised privacy, no neighbors within a mile, the host wrote, perfect for couples who want to get away from it all. The drive took us down a winding country road, then onto a gravel path that stretched deep into the woods. The cabin itself looked cozy enough, cedar siding, a small porch, and string lights dangling above the railing. Inside, it smelled faintly of pine and wood smoke. "This is perfect," my wife said, dropping her bag onto the couch. And at first it was. We spent the day hiking nearby trails and then came back to cook dinner together. By the time we crawled into bed, I was half convinced this was the first real vacation we'd had in years. But around 2 a.m., I woke up to a sound that I couldn't place. At first it was faint, like someone scratching nails along the side of the cabin. My eyes adjusted to the dark, and I turned towards the window, and the scratching grew louder. "Do you hear that?" I whispered, nudging my wife awake. She sat up groggily and then froze. Tap, tap, tap. Something was deliberately rapping on the glass. I pulled back the blinds just an inch, and my blood ran cold. A figure crouched outside the window, almost pressed against it. Its body was thin and painfully pale. It had the grayest, whitest skin that stretched tight across its jutting bones. Its arms were too long, ending in hands that dragged against the siding. And its face. Oh God, its face. Hollow sockets where eyes should have been, and a mouth that seemed to stretch wider and longer than I could have ever imagined. My wife clamped a hand over her mouth and stifled a scream. "Is that a person?" she whispered. I was pretty sure it wasn't. The thing tilted its head slowly, almost curiously. Then with impossible speed, it scuttled sideways on all fours and vanished into the tree line. We sat in silence, clutching each other, straining to hear. For a while, there was nothing but the old creak of the cabin settling. And then the back doorknob rattled, soft at first, like a test, and then harder, twisting like someone was fumbling with a key that didn't quite fit. I killed the lights, motioning for my wife to stay quiet while every muscle in my body screamed at me to do something, but I didn't know what we were up against. That's when I heard the voice. "Come outside." It was broken, far too slow, like a record being played at the wrong speed. The cadence was gone, too flat, almost childlike. "Come outside, come outside." My wife's hand dug into my arms, her lips trembled as she mouthed, "It's copying us." We didn't move, didn't breathe. The voice went on, sometimes at the door, sometimes just outside the window, and always just close enough to hear. Hours stretched into a nightmare loop, and then the patience ended. At 4 a.m., a thunderous crack shook the cabin. The front door buckled inwards. Wood splintered, and the thing was slamming against it now, shrieking in a sound that was a half-human scream with a half-animal wail. "Bedroom, now," I hissed, dragging my wife down the hallway. We shoved the dresser against the door and collapsed against the wall, holding each other as the thing scraped its claws along the outside of the cabin. Long, deliberate strokes, circling us, taunting us. By the time the sun rose, the noises had stopped. When we finally crept outside, the porch was shredded with deep gouges. The door frame was cracked, and dark stains smeared across the wood. It looked almost like blood, but it was black, thick, and tar-like. We packed up in silence and drove away without looking back. Later that afternoon, the host texted, "Hey, noticed you checked out early. Was everything okay?" I hesitated and then decided to be honest. I told them about everything, the scratching and the thing at the window, as well as the voice and the attempted break-in. Minutes later, I got the reply. "Oh, you saw it too." Personally, for such a short story, I did find it quite entertaining. Thank you all for listening, and I hope to see you in the next video. And just so you guys know, if you have any suggestions for a future story or cryptid rundown, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye, everybody.